Today we are covering the sound of Maluchi, the Berlin DJ that's bringing joy and excitement back to the dance floors worldwide. Known as the happiest man in dance music, he has gone from being a local favorite to a global name thanks to his viral boiler room and his unique blend of different genres that define his sound. Alongside co-founding Club Heartbroken, which is a label and an event, Maluchi has built a reputation for energy, color and a fresh perspective on dance music. Today I'm going to break down his sound and try to cover all of the elements that make a Maluchi track a actual Maluchi style track. So if you're interested in learning more about the sound, make sure to keep watching and let's now dive straight into the video. So I think I would describe Maluchi's sound as some kind of combination between UK house, trance and even pop. And that leads to a really playful and happy sound, and that's also really what he's known for. Today I want to start with a piano and kind of come up with a chord progression and a rhythm, and from there we can start building. Basically this chord progression and piano sound will already get us into the mood for a track like this. I'm using this preset from Ignite, which is a sampled M1 piano, which is a really bright housey piano. And there are some effects to make it a bit more crispy, such as an equalizer and a multiband compression. Nothing too special going on right here. It's just a piano that's really effective. So let's open up the piano roll and start playing around for this. I think an effective way to do it for this is just to start with rhythm and a bass line, and then on top of that start creating the chords. So let's just start with the lower octaves. And we can really make the rhythm super straightforward, so something like this. By the way, don't forget to put your BPM quite fast, 145 BPM, to really get that energy into your track. Honestly, good work. I think one of the things for his style that you should pay attention to is that you kind of focus on it giving off like positive vibes, often using major scales, but like it should just give you a sense of positivity. Maybe this sounds at this point a bit too much like some kind of happy hardcore stuff, but maybe we can change it up with some. Let's move this a bit here. We can just repeat the first chord here. I think that works quite well. As I said, we wanted to have some positive kind of sound, and I really feel like this sounds quite uplifting and happy. We can try around maybe adding some more notes or shifting some notes to create other inversions. Alright, so I think this sounds really nice. Perhaps the last few notes that I added are a bit of overkill, but in that case we can erase that later on. Let's now put it here and layer it with a bass line. And for the bass, I'm basically using old school patch recreated in Serum 2, which is called Bass Landing, and it's also from the Ignite pack. It makes use of 3 wavetables to really get that fat and full sounding sound, with envelope 2 shaped like this, opening the MG-Low 24 filter. Then envelope 1 is shaped like this with a bit more sustain. Then a bit of asymmetric distortion to kind of fatten up the sound a little bit. And that's about it for the sound. And this sound really allows you to make these octave jumps, which I want in this genre. So let's say like this. Let's just open up the piano roll. We just want a rhythm like this, which is basically the same like a 1/8 rhythm, but then it's jumping between octaves. And then we just follow the bass line that we essentially already created with the chords. It's quite low, but I think it will do. On piano, I want to add a low cut like this and make it slightly more bright here in the high end. Basically to leave room for the bass and to make the piano sound a bit more crispy overall. For the bass, I feel like it doesn't really need much in this context, but it does need a pretty harsh sidechain, because later on we will probably get a really pumping and quite long kick. So then you really want this to kind of enhance the rhythm and make sure they don't clash. Let's add a kick so we can immediately see what that would do to the groove. Okay, so that would sound like this. Next up, I want to add an offbeat organ and a offbeat lead. So that's basically hitting on these notes in between the kicks, the offbeats, and that just really gives you a bumping kind of effect. And for the organ sound, I'm coming once again back to an M1 style organ bass, and this one I already used in plenty of videos for this. It's just a sampled and slightly processed version of the M1 organ, which is just super effective and also contributes to that kind of old school groove in the genre. So, as I told you, we're going to use it on the offbeat rhythm, so it will be quite easy to just copy the bass notes right here. Perhaps we can add some variation so it doesn't really follow exactly the bass line, but it will probably work the best. Okay, so that sounded nice, but it had way too much bass, so I really did a sharp cut on the low end, so as a little boost in the high mids, and then it's way less likely to be fighting with your bass, which you will immediately hear. Now we're moving to one of his signature sounds, which is an old school rave sound that we recreated in Serum, which sounds like this. And you kind of hear it a lot, but I really think that he was one of the first to kind of reintroduce this into his modern productions again. So basically we have two FM organ wavetables, and they introduce these nice harmonics, and then you can add a LFO to the fine tune to get that vibrato effect. So if I bypass that, you will clearly hear that this LFO is really what defines the sound. Kind of lifeless if you don't have it. Of course, these wavetables are FME, so they already have some nice harmonics introduced. Yeah, the vibrato effect, which you can easily add like this, just adds so much more life. Some chorus and a little bit of downsampling, so bit crushing, distortion, and then there is some delay and some reverb. Pretty straightforward. And now we're going to use this probably in the same rhythm as the organ to really get that pumping groove going. But I just want to check if we really going to like copy the organ, how that sounds, or if you want to kind of harmonic or variation on it. We could try something with like rhythmic aspect though. Let me see what it would sound like if we just leave out the extra notes we've added so far. I think it would leave more room for the rest of the elements, even though the last progression was kind of nice if you would use it as the main element, I think. This kind of just gives more breathing room to the overall mix. That's better in this case. Also for the lead, I'm adding a low cut and some boost in the higher area. I don't really bother too much to add sidechain to this offbeat elements, as they're kind of already placed in a way that you don't really need that. You could really surgically do it, but I think it sounds alright like this. Next, I want to add some kind of top synth, and I found this one. And we can basically let it play, for example, one note all the time. Just have to find out which one that will be. It's like really subtle. It just adds something extra. So let's put that here. Again, same story for the EQing on this sound. Lastly, I want to add a top string to add some tension, and for that I'm using another preset from our pack, which is called Synth Orchestra, which is just really a typical string, and I just want to play like 1 or 2 notes on top of it to add that extra tension and extra layer actually to the overall track. Just a matter of kind of playing around with notes. So on the strings, since I have so much sustain, a little bit of sidechain so it doesn't clash too much with the kick, and I'm rolling off a bit of the high end just so there's more room for like the piano lead and a bit of the organ as well. Next up, you want to add something to add to the impact of the drop, and for this a step works really well, so I found these two, only we just need to kind of repitch them to our actual key. So let's search for the correct key. It's a C actually, so 1, 2, 3. Let's pitch it down 3 octaves. For this, octaves down. And since these are pretty like old school and full spectrum sounds, I'm adding a bunch of effects. First of all, some distortion. Then I'm adding a EQ. Once again, a low cut. Then there is some vintage chorus that really adds that old school, you know, type of chorus to the sound. And that's actually now a native FL Studio plugin. Then there is a fruity stereo enhancer to make the sound a bit wider overall, and a delay set to ping pong mode with quite some feedback, so it kind of fills up a lot of space like in between all the steps. Okay, so moving on to the drums. So this is where we will take the track from nice to really energetic. So first of all, we already had the kick, but I added this reverse kick, which kind of sucks you into the drop. Very nice trick that's like being used all the time in the genre. An open head, quite a noisy one, gives a lot of energy. Then 2 clap layers, not too in your face, but they just add to the groove. Then there is this old school breakbeat, really fills up a lot of space. A top loop from the Ignite pack and a percussion loop. You can find all kind of loops in the pack, so if you're looking for them, make sure to head over to the link in the description. We also want to make sure the transitions are nice, and for that I'm using a crash fill and a snare loop. So now we basically have all the building blocks, and I will now move on to the arrangement and get back to you. Okay, so I finished arranging, and as you can see, it's basically now one big intro, then some kind of break / build up, and then the drop. First of all, I will show you some more of what I added, and first of all, in the break and build up, that's this vocal.
Don't turn the lights on.
Just really contributes to that ecstatic kind of feel to the piano.
Don't turn the lights on. Wait till I move on.
Some tension strings, a sample from the pack, some vinyl noise, and obviously the snare rolls that we already used but now way longer, and the crashes again, some impacts and noise uplifters. Quite straightforward. Then for the pre-drop, we have these backspin / gated down filter kind of effects, which kind of releases all the energy, and then the drop hits. And then we have this more spoken word pre-drop vocal.
It's time to rock.
What's interesting here is that I looped the first notes of the piano, so it stays on the same note, which gives it extra tension. And as well, I repeated the vocal a little bit. As you can see right here on the vocal, there are some automations such as a low cut automation and a high cut automation, as well as a delay automation to kind of let it fade out. Also in the intro, first of all, you're not giving away the whole kind of progression. Then you use the piano to kind of create that uplifting build / break effect, and then you leave out that piano in the start of the drop, so you get really that focus on the pumping rhythm of the lead and the organ. and I can reintroduce it later on. So that's it for this track, and I will now play you guys the end result. And I hope you guys liked this video. If you have any more questions, make sure to leave them down below.
It's time to rock.
So I think that's a really nice track. If you want to check out all the sounds that I've used in this video, as well as projects like this, vocals, presets and much more, head over to the link in the description where you will find Ignite, which is our latest hard house and trance sample pack exactly in the style of Malugi. If you never want to miss the next video, make sure to subscribe down below, and you can also follow us on Instagram, which is at the Producer School. For now, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I see you guys in the next video.